Hello, and welcome to my little podcast from my little corner of the world to yours. Welcome. My name is Bob Nebel, Nebel, long E, no ne, like Long John Nebel, who was a disc jockey, not just a disc jockey, he was kind of like that Art Bell type, I believe, overnight type host up on WOR in New Jersey. I think he was out of Secaucus, New Jersey. I remember my dad got a book about him, and Ed McMahon wrote a full quote or a foreword or something like that. His name was Long John Nebel. No relation whatsoever if anybody out there stumbles upon me. I have had people, because my name is German, it means the fog in German. I've had people from Germany connect with me. It's been a long time now. There was a professor, his name was Berhard Niebel out of Freiburg University, I believe. He found me years ago. I wonder if Bernhard is around these days. Anywho, that's my name. I'm sticking with it. Never changed it. Was told I should change it because these five letters just confuse people so badly, especially here in the United States. So I'm sticking with the long E. Some do go by the short E. Some people in my family, you're doing it wrong. Anywho, this is March 11th. How did this happen? We are now in the third month of 2024. March 11th is also known as Johnny Appleseed Day. You know, the guy who got these fruit trees all over the country. Remember Johnny Appleseed? Apple doesn't fall far from the trees. The legend who made the fruit trees happen here all across this fruited plain. Today, I have somebody not from America. He is from Canada, way up north in Canada, the Great White North. He is from a place called Attawapiskat. His name is Adrian Sutherland. He is an amazing musician. I love the word amazing because he put out an amazing single called Precious. And the whole album is coming out on March 15th, 2024, as we speak. And as we archive, look back, it's March 15th, 2024. It's available wherever you get your music. I like to get it from Amazon, cheap plug there, but you can also go to Spotify, Apple Music, and so forth and get physical copies through Adrian Sutherland's website. Check him out. Look him up, Adrian with an Adrian, Sutherland, like Donald Sutherland. Nothing like that, but he is very interesting. And we had a really great conversation. Precious Diamonds is out. He recorded in Nashville. It was his first time to the States. So he was just incredibly fascinated with it because he comes from a very remote territory by the James Bay, way up there in Ontario, the province in Canada. And he was just completely taken aback by the culture here and meeting different people. He was just so remote for so many years. We talk about this, he just got connected up with much better internet connection. Actually, his connection, him being so remote, is way better than a lot of people who I speak with in California, believe it or not. So I was just like shocked throughout the whole thing. It's a great conversation, and I really do hope you enjoy this. I hope you check out his music. It's just this great blend of roots, rock, blues, pop. He was very much influenced by a lot of artists who I had grown up with, everybody from I don't know, probably Gordon Lightfoot, who was very big up there in Canada, to he was into Madonna growing up. So he's just really just incredibly talented. Really hope you have a good time. And he also is into the community up there in Canada and into a lot of organizations. So enjoy. And I'll see you on the backside of this. Hey, how you doing? It's afternoon now. How you doing?
Very good. How are you?
Excellent. Excellent. It's great to see you. So you're up in Canada?
Yes, that's right. I'm up in my sea container studio.
Keeping warm for sure. If those who are
Yeah,
watching here, yeah. Oh,
yeah,
it's a wow. So and you're by the James Bay?
that's right. Yeah, we live just a little ways from the coast here.
Wow, it's just a part of the world. I remember I grew up in Cleveland, Ohio, and I always wondered what it was like up in Canada. We were able to go across Lake Erie to London, Ontario, and then from there, basically if you took the took any boat, you could go straight there. But for a lot of us, we would just go around it all and go to Niagara Falls and places like that. But yeah, you're way up there.
Yeah, we're way up there, probably a little over 1,000 kilometers north of Lake Erie, maybe 1,200 kilometers or something. Yeah, we're up there.
Yeah, and the summers are definitely more bearable. I've been living in Atlanta, Georgia for a long time now, and it's just still try to get used to the heat here.
Yeah, yeah, I bet. I was down in the States last year, sorry, in the spring, and I felt like the heat was a little bit too much to bear for me, but I managed to get through it. So,
Wow. Ottawapiskat, is that your exact location in Ontario?
correct, yes, Attawapiskat.
Very interesting. So how you grew up there and are you many generations in?
Yes, I'm Cree. I'm an indigenous from the indigenous Cree tribe of the area. We're one of many Cree dialects. We're called the Umushkegwa Cree, which is basically like a swampy bog. Most of the land here is all boggy and mushkeg is what we call it up here. And it's quite harsh, the climate. And winters are very cold, and we kind of, if you ever look at a map, you'll see the Arctic flow kind of dips down into James Bay where we are, and we're kind of at the end of the boreal forest, where it ends and the tundras begin. So we're sort of in there somewhere. But yeah, I'm from here, and this is where I've been most of my life. My mother is Cree. I was raised the Cree way. So my maternal grandparents are Cree, lived off the land, their entire lives. And my paternal side is Jewish, actually, which is an unusual mix for somebody in these parts where I live.
How did that happen? How did anybody Jewish end up in that area? That's very interesting to hear that.
Well, I don't know if you're familiar with the boarding schools or residential schools that existed up here. My mom attended one of the residential schools in Fort Albany, which is not too far from where we live. And when she left the school, she ended up in Ottawa, which is the capital of Canada, to attend high school, which is where she met my dad, who is a Jewish man. So that's where how it all connected.
Yeah, that's interesting. My grandfather came through Canada and ended up in Ohio. He did not come legally. He was given amnesty, a few years later, but he came into this through to Canada into the States after actually before World War One. So it's very interesting how anybody could end up there. I'm sure it was industry that attracted people to be up there.
Yeah, absolutely. I know on my paternal side, my grandfather was in the war, World War II, and my grandmother was French Canadian. So, but I think they had ties to, European French as well. So I'm not really familiar with that side of the family. It's just one of those things, in life where you kind of, get rejected, and so it's one of those situations. So it's
Yeah.
yeah,
Wow. So in your language, there's so many up there. It's called Omus Kiwak, that type of language.
yeah,
That must
yeah.
be, yeah, that's really wild. It's just so much interesting languages. My dad was really into languages and collected dictionaries and really got into doing that. Not that he really spoke all these different languages, he just loved the origins. I remember getting him a Papiamento dictionary when I was in Aruba. That was, a language that he used way, way, way back. But yeah, it's interesting to see, the different types of dialects and languages, especially that we're across those territories up there.
Yeah, there's quite a few different, the three main tribes up here where we are, the largest ones anyway, with the strongest language retention are Ojibwe, Cree, and Inuit, I believe.
Hmm.
There's also a large Dene, which is similar to Navajo. I think they're quite similar to the language. and then there's more. I mean, there's just so many different languages. It's quite fascinating when you start to kind of dive in and start learning about the different dialects and languages. And uh, you know, one example I would use is Cree. When we say no, we say mo na,
Uh-huh.
and the dialect, actually we have a dialect here that uses an L instead of the NA, like the Mona, they would say Mola with an L. So it's like it's little different, subtle differences like that. And then you have Moya and Moy, and it just kind of changes depending on where you are in this part of the country. But it's neat. It's all similar and it's all kind of tied together, and it's always neat to share, the different ways we speak, and language is interesting.
So growing up there, how did you get into music and what inspired you? Obviously, probably a lot of the indigenous music, all that stuff probably inspired you. But yeah, what got you into music growing up?
Well, I mean, growing up here, like because I was so far north, we've been very, very underserviced. So I didn't grow up speaking English. I grew up speaking my native tongue. So English I had to learn as I got into high school, and we were speaking it in grade school, but not so much. And as I got older, I got better at English. You wouldn't tell that it's a second language for me. But it was music was always around though. We had a jukebox in the old arcade. We had an arcade back in the 80s, and I was probably 10, 11, 12. So jukebox was there, and we had records like Tom Petty and the Heartbreakers, Neil Young, CCR, those kinds of influences, Madonna, Cyndi Lauper,
Huh.
that kind of stuff. So we were listening to, whatever was in the jukebox. So that was probably my earliest sort of window into music. And, everyone would take their turn to go and put a quarter into the jukebox to play, their favorite song every night at the arcade. And my mom, of course, and all my uncles were musical. They all played guitar. They played an instrument. They all played in bands, rock cover bands, and there weren't too many original artists up here, musicians. So mostly all rock cover bands. And that's how I got into music. Basically, was through inspired by my mom. She was my first sort of introduction to music, as because she played guitar, and she picked it up in boarding school, for something to do. There was always instruments around, so she picked up the guitar and she played the guitar quite a bit. So yeah, music was always for me is it was always been interesting. When we first got our TV, I was probably we had two or three channels, and then one of them happened to be MTV, Much Music. So I got to see Bryan Adams, from a very
Yeah.
young, Run to You. That was the first music video I ever saw, and it just blew me away. And I just from that day on, I always thought maybe I could do that someday. I could maybe do something like that, play music and make music and play guitar and just rock it out.
I would be like Brian Adams. Oh, we loved him in Cleveland. I swear. Yeah, it was just on constantly. A lot of the Canadian artists, and we broke Rush.
Yeah.
Rush became very big in Cleveland, and just yeah, part of our kind of almost like a religion in a way. So Canada had a huge impact on us. I remember Much Music very much. So you must be in that Gen X crowd where it's you saw all these artists come up, and I'm sure it was inspirational. How did you teach yourself instruments? Did you just pick up the guitar and learn by ear?
Yeah, I've learned by ear. I mean, I the first instrument I played was a guitar. So, I went through a few different phases with the guitar. I wanted to be, the best guitar player in the world, and so I started working on trying to develop that. And then I quickly figured out that it was very time consuming, and decided that I wanted to focus on songwriting. So I decided earlier on in probably my late teens and my early 20s that I wanted to, kind of focus my energy on songwriting. So that was, everything has been by ear, like even today. Of course, with technology now, like internet, you can go on and download tabs and stuff like that, which helps. It makes it a lot easier when you're trying to learn to cover a song or something like that than learning by ear. But I still majority of the stuff is all by ear, and everything I've done is just always been with feeling, like whatever I'm feeling, I'll just try to create something from that.
So nothing, no formal music training. You didn't go to school for any of that stuff, any learning how to read music. Most people don't, at least in pop music.
Yeah, so no formal schooling or anything like that. And because I lived here, I didn't have access to like a music store. I didn't ha really have access to whatever cassette tapes. Um, my sisters had cassettes and Walkmans, so that's the only thing I had access to. Anything beyond that, I didn't have really, like, no music books, and whatever was being played at the local dance is what whatever I could get my hands on, I guess, in those days. You couldn't even order strings. You'd be waiting like 4 months if you were to, pick up a phone and order a set of strings to replace your, strings on your guitar or whatever. So I think in a lot of ways, I'm just discovering a lot of music even today because there's just so many, great songwriters I never knew about, and I'm just discovering more.
Well, I hope you enjoyed that. We had a good time. Uh, Speaking Johnny Appleseed Day, there are others. This is also known as a lot of other different days here on March 11th. World Plumbing Day, National Dream Day, National No Smoking Day, National Wash Your Nose Day, National Wash Your Nose Day. What is that all about? I guess what is that thing that you shove up your nose and clean? It's called Navage or something like that. No idea. Oatmeal Nut Waffles Day. I don't think you could even get the closest thing you get a Waffle House are like the pecans in the waffles. National Oatmeal Nut Waffle Day. Great day, March 11th. Anyway, check out Adrian's new release, Precious Diamonds, wherever you get your music, releasing March 15th. And enjoy this new music, and we'll see you on the next episode. I don't know when that will be, but enjoy.